Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official NFL week number 17 picks and predictions. The final 2 weeks here of the NFL regular season. The final Thursday night game. I didn't even know they did Thursday night games this late into the season, but we do have the final one. The Jets traveling to Cleveland. And how about the Browns and Joe Flacco right now? 10-5, very likely going to make the playoffs, sitting -7 in this game, taking on a Jets team. They started Trevor Siemian last week. They were up huge early. They barely beat the Commanders. How can you not pick the Browns to win and cover in this game? At some point, we do expect some major regression from Joe Flacco. I don't know how sustainable this is, but right now, the Jets at this point, they've got to be trying to lose. Aaron Rodgers is not coming back. They're out of the playoff race. You know, whoever they start, it doesn't really matter. This is a great Browns defense at home, and that's going to be the key to the Browns covering in this game. That's a big spread, though, -7. I'll take them 24-10. Lower scoring game, not surprising. Amari Cooper was huge last week. David Njoku really coming into his own, and that defense against the bad Jets offense there. Moving on to the single Saturday game. We've had some Saturday games the past 2 weeks. Now we're down to one Saturday game, 8:15. It is the Detroit Lions coming in 11-4, taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys struggling recently. They lose to Miami. They don't cover the 1.5-point spread, but the Cowboys at home against a Lions team that's been pretty, the Lions have played better the last few weeks, but they're still susceptible on defense, and the Cowboys are great at home, especially Dak Prescott. This is going to be a huge Dallas Cowboys victory. They will get back into covering spreads. They're going to cover this 6.5-point spread. A lot of people are going to think Detroit is a good value play, guys. Don't fall for it. Don't chase numbers. Yes, Detroit is covered recently, but things are going to flip in this game. Dallas, the more talented team, and they are at home. They win this game 31-17, 14 points. They easily cover the 6.5. Moving on to the 1 o'clock window. What a game this is. Battle for the number one overall seed in the AFC. It is the Miami Dolphins coming off their impressive win over Dallas. They are taking on Baltimore. Baltimore destroyed San Francisco. Brock Purdy, the 4 interceptions. They're 12-3, and they're only sitting -1.5. I think I have to go Baltimore here at home just based off of value. I'll take them. This spread kind of reminds me of Miami being -1.5 against Dallas, and I'm like, I'll take the value with the home team in Miami. Miami ends up rewarding me, winning by 2 points. I will take Baltimore here. They've been playing really well. Certainly, could they have a bad game? Could they lose? Absolutely. Miami's a good team, but I think 1.5, there's phenomenal value at home against a Baltimore team, against a Miami team who's traveling warm weather to cold weather. This game in Baltimore, Maryland, going to be 30s, 40s. That should also help the Ravens as well as their home field advantage. I will take them. They have had some injuries, Mark Andrews and what have you, but you're also dealing with a Miami team with Jalen Waddle. He's a little bit banged up, so I will take the Ravens there. Moving on to the next 1 o'clock game, it is the New England Patriots traveling to take on the Bills. Bills sitting -11.5. I've seen several sports books already bumping the Bills to -12 or even -13. I do think this is going to be a blowout. I said Bill Belichick would keep it close on Christmas Eve. Not only did he do that, they won that game late with that field goal, which they really shouldn't have done considering their draft capital. But either way, I love Buffalo in this game to win big, 28-13. They need to win out. They need to secure a wild card. Looks like they're going to do it. They're at home against a New England team that just has no offense. I know New England's had some games against Pittsburgh and last week where they've surprised some people. This is not going to be one of those games. This will be a blowout. This will be a solid Buffalo cover of the 11.5 there. The next game, it is Atlanta traveling to Chicago. Chicago coming in -3. Atlanta sitting at a 51% chance to win. I really don't know what to make of this one exactly, guys. It's kind of strange to me. I do love the way Chicago's been playing, and I was in on them last week to cover against Arizona. It was great, but this is a game that, should Chicago be favorites? I guess I've got them winning right now by 3. Normally, I try not to do this, where the spread is -3 and I have them winning by 3, but it is a tough game for me. Atlanta with a 51% chance to win. It's just hard to trust that Atlanta team coming into cold weather. Taylor Heineke. I will take Chicago to win that game. Justin Fields playing really well lately. We'll have to see what they end up doing in terms of possibly trading Justin Fields, maybe taking Marvin Harrison Jr. and keeping Justin Fields. We will see. The next 1 o'clock game, it is the Raiders traveling on the road, going to a dome. Indianapolis sitting -3 in this game. So these teams are basically even at 7-8 and 8-7. Indianapolis 3-point favorites. The Raiders got a shocking win last week, but this is the NFL. They go into Arrowhead, they win that game, they come back on the road, they lose to Gardner Minshew. It's just the way the world works. I will take Indianapolis to win this game and cover. There's a few teams that are really... It's very hard to get a feel for teams like Indianapolis, Atlanta, New Orleans is another one. But I've been pretty good with Indianapolis. I'm going to go with them to cover against a Raiders team I'm sure a lot of people are going to be picking. I get it. Sitting at 7-8 with the huge win last week, but it is the NFL. We will go against it. Moving on, we do have Jacksonville at home, kind of a random AFC-NFC game this late in the season. They are taking on Carolina, who is 2-13. Bryce Young looked a little bit better last week. Jacksonville sitting -6.5, and at this point, it's a real bad trend with Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, unfortunately. The way he's played, the injuries, but in a game like this, everyone is going to be taking Carolina. All the narrative surrounding Bryce Young playing better, Jacksonville really struggling to end their season. I think Jacksonville actually covers in this game. I'm using the reverse narrative. Everyone loves the way Carolina is playing. They've been covering spreads. Jacksonville's been playing horrible. They get blown out by the Bucs. As long as Trevor Lawrence is healthy at home, they win this game, they cover. It might even be a blowout, but I will take the Jags there -6.5. Another 1 o'clock game. It is Tennessee sitting at 5-10, kind of tanking right now. Good for them traveling on the road, taking on the Houston Texans, who we expect C.J. Stroud to return in this game. That's why Houston is -3.5. If it comes out he's not playing, certainly that's going to flip just like the Browns-Texans spread did this past week, but I am banking on a C.J. Stroud return. I'm banking on a motivated Houston team at home. I think 3 passing touchdowns, 320 yards for him, not out of the question. And they win this game relatively easily against a Tennessee team who will have to see what their quarterback situation is, probably starting Ryan Tannehill again. Not that it's going to matter too much, in my opinion. I just think at this point, a lot of Tennessee fans want to lose out. They want to get a franchise left tackle for Will Levis. And Houston, they had the terrible performance against the Browns, but when you don't have your starting quarterback, it is what it is. I will say Houston's defense was not good, but I do expect them to be better this coming week at home against a Tennessee team who's kind of playing like a wounded animal at this point. The next game, it is the Rams traveling West Coast to East Coast to take on the Giants. The Giants put up a really good fight on Christmas. They're sitting right now at 5-10. Rams 6.5-point favorites. I do, believe it or not, like the Giants to cover in this game. I just don't love the situation for the Rams traveling West Coast to East Coast. The Giants always seem to play some scroungy games at home. It'll probably be cold. That's not great news for a dome, warm weather team in the Rams. The Rams win this game, but the Giants low-key do end up covering this one, really no matter who their quarterback is. Tyrod Taylor might start. We'll see. The Giants do need to lose out. They are right now 5-10. I do expect them to finish the season 5-12 because they still have the Eagles after this, I do remember. Speaking of the Eagles, they are at home taking on Arizona. And Arizona at this point, they're really just trying to get to the end of the season. I mean, they've had these East Coast games. Last week it was Chicago. This week it's Philadelphia. I did think the Eagles were going to cover a 12-point spread against the Giants. They didn't do it. Now they've got a 12-point spread against Arizona, and I think they cover this easily. They win this game 34-13. it ends up being a relatively stress-free blowout, and you're looking at an Arizona team. They're trying to get to the offseason. They want to finish 3-14 and secure a top 3 draft pick. We saw they performed against the Bears. When I said it was an auto lock, the Bears were covering a 4-point spread, and it was basically a guarantee from the start of that game. I think it was 21-0 at one point. This is going to be a very similar game where it's just not competitive, and Philadelphia is significantly more talented. They're at home. It's colder weather. There's a lot of advantages here for the Eagles. They win that one easily. Next, you do have the New Orleans Saints traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have they've thoroughly owned me. I've really faded the Buccaneers, and it hasn't worked recently. The Saints, on the other hand, sitting at 7-8, just a random team. Although you can maybe find some value in the Saints plus the 3 here. New Orleans given a 52% chance to win, but you do have Tampa Bay actually 3-point favorites according to Vegas. I will take New Orleans to at least cover, maybe win this game, although I have been really bad when it comes to betting against Tampa Bay. They've been covering a lot of spreads, and now I'm kind of at the point, do I do the normie thing and go with Tampa, or do I say, no, I'm going to stick to my guns? At some point, Tampa Bay's not going to cover. The last thing you want to do is bet against a team 3 weeks in a row, lose, and then say, okay, I'll bet with them, and then lose again. Let's use reverse psychology here, ladies and gentlemen. Tampa Bay is due for a loss against the spread. If you look at the analytics, they're against it. All the big people are against Tampa Bay this coming week against New Orleans, even though New Orleans is a very streaky team themselves. They had that Thursday night game. I had them not covering that spread. It was like 5.5 against the Rams, and I was correct. I had the Rams winning that game by a touchdown. So now I'm back in on New Orleans to win this game because there is value on them, in my opinion. Another 1 o'clock game, because the NFL is just obsessed with having 12 1 o'clock games and only 3 4 o'clock games. It is San Francisco coming off that brutal loss. They are traveling on, I believe San Francisco's 11-4 actually. They're traveling on the road to take on the Commanders. How about the Commanders sneaking up in terms of draft capital right now? Very low key, but they're 4-11. They've got a, head coach who's obviously going to be fired. San Francisco, huge favorites, 13.5. I'll probably stay away from this game, but I do like San Francisco to really get back on track. And this is a Commanders team. Listen, Sam Howell was horrific against the Jets. They still somehow covered that 3-point spread by a miracle with Jacoby Brissett, but their quarterback situation is not good right now. Sam Howell had to be benched. I will take San Francisco to get back on track. They've just got too much talent, even though they're on the road in a weird 1 o'clock game in Landover, Maryland. They win this one 30-14. Moving on to the 4 o'clock window, it is Pittsburgh traveling to Seattle. This is the 1-4-05 game. Both of these teams sitting at 8-7. And I think when it comes to betting Pittsburgh, I've been very good the past few weeks betting against them, then betting with them. I had them beating Cincinnati. They ended up doing that. I see a lot of people that are on Pittsburgh plus the 3.5. They're saying it's good value. Guys, you got to go against a team like Pittsburgh on the road in this situation. Seattle's just a better overall team. They've got more talent on offense. I don't trust Mason Rudolph on the road against this Seahawks squad. They win this, and they easily cover the 3.5. Seattle, it's just a situation where they have more talent. Let's not overreact to Pittsburgh winning one game when the narrative this entire season is Pittsburgh clearly has a quarterback issue. That has not been solved by one very good, Mason Rudolph, George Pickens game. It was nice. It was the Christmas spirit. It was at home. They're going to come back down to earth on the road in Seattle. Seattle wins this game. They cover in that one. This was supposed to be the premier 425 game of the week. You've got Kansas City struggling a lot, sitting at 9-6, taking on Jake Browning, who really had a bad game. Cincinnati is 8-7. I do find value in Cincinnati on the road. I just do not trust this Kansas City team at this point. I understand you could say, it's the NFL. Last week they didn't cover at home. It was a big spread. This week they're going to come back. They're going to cover. I just can't trust it. I really can't. So I will take Cincinnati to cover in this game plus the 8 against the Kansas City team. And at some point, somebody really has to talk to Mahomes about his complaining. It's completely out of control at this point. And listen, I'm not a hater of any player, but my goodness, he needs somebody to be like, listen, dude, you really got to calm down. It's getting completely out of control. You whine when any little thing doesn't go your way, And it's just, there's really no other quarterback that's doing that in the NFL. So I will take Kansas City to win this game, but not cover in that one. The other 425 game, it is the Chargers traveling on the road in Denver. So Denver is just a weird team. This is basically the same spread they had last week against a Patriots team that was tanking, and they end up losing that game outright. I think they win this one, but this is another one where I don't think they're going to cover. I think I had them winning 20-17 against the Patriots when they were 5-point favorites as well. They win this one. Look, the Chargers are completely unpredictable. They lost, by 50 points, and then they come back and win. Or they almost win, excuse me. They imagine they actually beat the Bills. No, they end up losing to the Bills, but they easily cover that massive spread at home. They're on the road in a cold environment. They don't have Justin Herbert. This could be a game where Denver easily takes control and wins by 20, but both of these teams are very strange in the way that they play. And then moving on to the one primetime game of Sunday, the whopping one primetime game. There's no Monday night this week in week number 17, or I'm guessing in week 18, because there never is. I don't know why there's not any. Maybe is it because... it's because of the way the college football schedule falls. Yes, because college football is on the first. But you can see it is Minnesota at home taking on Green Bay. Good matchup here. Both of these teams 7-8. There's a lot of teams in the NFL right now that are 7-8. Green Bay given a 53% chance on the road against Nick Mullins. I do like Green Bay, the value here, the way Jordan Love has played. They beat Carolina. Yeah, they gave up a lot of points to Carolina, but they also scored a lot. Good value here on the road on Green Bay. Even if they lose this game, it's probably going to be very close. I would love that to be a +3, not 2.5. But either way, I will take Green Bay to win this game outright. And I just like Jordan Love over Nick Mullins. Both of these teams are very evenly matched. We will see when it comes to the Sunday night game. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.